At this time, I would like to call up Mike Ash, President of Fifth Third Bank, our presenting sponsor.
Thank you, Danny. And I also want to thank all the sponsors because without everyone's collective efforts, events like this would not be able to take place. Fifth Third Bank is proud once again to be the presenting sponsor for the Good Morning Bluegrass series. And we're excited, especially today, with our guest speaker. I saw an interview with Coach Stoops that he'd given, and one of the key words he talked about, reasons for success, was the word relationships. And Commerce Lexington, what they do to put these kind of events together, gives us all an opportunity in the business community to really come together and build those relationships through networking, through referrals, and through coming together in a collective effort when we have topics of interest to our community. It was about a month ago, a little over a month ago, when I was watching the Super Bowl at a Super Bowl party, and the room got quiet, and there was a commercial that came on of Commonwealth Stadium in a thunderstorm. Bells were tolling, sirens were wailing, and the voiceover was Coach Stoops talking about what he needed from this community in terms of support. And Coach, I guarantee that, first of all, welcome to Lexington, and congratulations on this opportunity. But you have our guarantee that the community will back you 100%. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Danny, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Mike. At this time, I would like to introduce Coach Stoops today, as well as Carl Nathan. I don't want to get into any long formal introductions. I'll just say this about Carl. I believe you've been the public address announcer at Commonwealth Stadium since around 1997. Is that correct? All right. And so I've heard your voice for a number of years and only had the privilege of meeting you in the last couple of years. But up until that time, that put you in some unique company in my life as far as voices that I'd heard, but faces I'd never met. One would be the lady that's on the recording for Fayette County Public School Systems. Most of you have probably experienced that one. And the other one would be God. And I've met you. I hope I don't meet God anytime soon. I think I have a few good years left. But we look forward to having you up as the facilitator today. And Coach Stoops, again, we've heard about you. We've read about you. Some maybe have had a chance to meet with you and speak with you. But today, we are look forward to hearing from you. I'd like to welcome you and your wife and your family to Lexington. You will see the passion that we have for our Wildcats, not just basketball. You'll see it on football on Saturdays as well. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Coach Stoops and Carl Nathan.
I think so. All right, Sam, are we both on?
Testing.
Yes, so testing. Yep. All right, there we are.
All right.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome, and thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to give a thank you to Tom Harris, our Vice President, for helping to arrange this, and Katie for giving me this opportunity, and Mark, everyone associated with Commerce Lexington. It's a thrill to be here with Coach Stoops, and we thought we'd just have a little informal conversation, and I think we also can have some audience questions while we've got some time. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but a little bit about Coach Stoops. You heard Danny, and thank you for that kind introduction, but the coach comes to us from Florida State University, and he was there as defensive coordinator for the last several years. When he took over as defensive coordinator, Florida State had the 108th ranked defense. Now, there are something like 123 or 124 Division I schools, so Florida State was not exactly at the top of the heap, even though they're known for many years as a great football program. Well, when Coach Stoops was there for 3 years, they moved from 108th to 2nd. So that's a pretty big jump. And Coach, I want to just welcome you to Lexington. I want to say how glad we are to have you here. But tell us a little bit about the week when you were hired. I mean, a whirlwind. You're trying to wrap up things at Florida State. You're trying to decide whether to come to Kentucky. First of all, how did you ever get interested in the position?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. It really came at good timing. We were in season at Florida State, and we actually played a Thursday night game And so your position was open, Kentucky was open, and so I had an opportunity to visit with Mitch Barnhart, and so we had a Thursday night game. So actually, I'm not even sure the exact dates on this, but Mitch and I had an opportunity to meet in Atlanta on Saturday after my Thursday game. So it actually worked out pretty good. Didn't need to take any time away from my season. We had a chance to meet nice and early, got in front of Mitch. And like I said before, each and every time I talked to Mitch Barnhart and I talked to anybody in Lexington or anybody about this university, I got more and more excited each and every time we talked. So that's kind of how it started. And we got the ball rolling, and it's been a whirlwind ever since. The week of the hire was a little bit unique as well, getting named the head coach and then still have to go play a championship game. So that was a little bit stressful time. So I don't remember quite the getting hired, the ACC championship game, and then coming in for the press conference, and that really blew me away.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm asking this as a devil's advocate. Don't quote me, because I love the University of Kentucky. I love the football program, but there's a lot of people out there that said, is this guy nuts? He's going to Kentucky to coach football? Can he get another opportunity? What about it?
I'm not worried about that whatsoever. I feel very good. Thank you to everybody that's here. Thank you to all the kind words that's been written, all the lies that have been told about me. But I feel very good. I feel stronger and stronger about this opportunity each and every day. The support's here. The people are here. The community's behind our program. And we have a lot of good things to sell at Kentucky, and we're really looking forward to building this program. So it's exciting times.
One of the cutest stories, and I'll give a nod to Jason Schlaffer, who is our executive assistant athletic director for marketing and external affairs. And your son, I think it was Will, you have your wife, Chantel, and then Will is
six,
and then Zach.
Zach's 2. Yeah.
And when you're coming in on the plane on that Sunday to have the opening news conference, and I read something in the newspaper that your son Will looked down and saw the big screens in the stadium and your picture on there. Hey, look, Dad's on the TV in the stadium.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat experience.
Yeah, it was. It's been a lot of fun. I think there's some clips there at the press conference as well where my son Zach throwing his pacifiers all over the place as well. So. and I'm really getting acclimated to the town. My son Will, he fell off the monkey bars and broke his elbow, so we've been in there. And Zach's got the flu, so we're getting around town. I'm learning all the doctors, wow. So we're doing good.
Well, getting back to coming to Kentucky, so you make the decision. You've got that whirlwind week. You coach the game Saturday night, the ACC championship. Florida State wins. So Sunday, finally get the go-ahead to come up here and make the formal announcement with President Capilouto and Mitch Barnhart. What role did President Capilouto play in this with you?
Well, he was the ultimate person that gave me the stamp of approval, so I appreciate that. But we had an opportunity to visit on the phone. So Mitch and I talked, and several of his people of his committee that, we talked several times. And then President Capilouto, we had an opportunity to visit with over the phone. So, and then when I got here, of course, I went straight to his house before the press conference and met with him there. So.
As a first-year football coach, that's, I think, November 27th, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. February 6th is the National Signing Day. That's not a big window of time. You're coming from Florida State into Kentucky. How did you go about recruiting? You don't even have a staff.
Yeah, you just grind away. It was a little bit difficult at first. I was on campus by myself. There were some younger guys, some graduate assistants, some former players, and guys that were around here that helped me put me onto a few guys and some of the local guys. Of course, I did some legwork from Tallahassee before I got here on campus and had a good idea of some of the guys we were going to target right away. Then put the staff together, and really it's overwhelming at that point because you have to recruit so many players. You're not just recruiting 1 or 2. I mean, we're recruiting 50. And so I really needed some reinforcements. So first order of business, after making some phone calls on the recruiting trail, was getting some assistants in here that could help me.
Mm-hmm. So. Now, you start getting a staff, you're hitting the recruiting trail, and you know what recruiting is all about. It's there's a term that goes around now, high touch, high tech. Well, recruiting's definitely high touch. You're not going to recruit anybody. Part of it is phone calls and things, but you got to see the players. You got to get out in schools.
Absolutely. And then that's the fun part. That's the easy part. And that's the relationships that we talked about, just getting out with our staff. I feel very good about the staff that we have in place. And that part of it's, relatively easy for us to get out and who we are is who we are. We're not trying to hide anything. We feel like we have a lot to sell. We have a lot of good things here that I touched on. Our coaches have had a lot of success, and they're good people. So when we get out and get in front of these recruits, it's just starting those relationships, building and getting to know these guys and getting to know their families. And that part of it's kind of fun. Of course, you're running all over the place, but it's still fun getting in those living rooms.
Let's talk about the staff a little bit because, ladies and gentlemen, the video that you watched, you saw a lot of Florida State defense, a lot of Texas Tech offense. And what about your philosophies and what you were looking for as you hired your staff and what we're going to see on the field?
Well, defensively, it was very important for me to hire Coach Elliott. He came with me from Florida State. It lets me go do things like this and be a head coach and touch all facets of our program, because if I was trying to be the defensive coordinator, that's overwhelming for me. The first time being a head coach, there's so many things to do, so many parts of the program that you have to reach out to and touch, and in the community and everywhere you have to be. I was in Owensboro last night, got back late last night from Owensboro, and So it's very important for me to hire Coach Elliott. He knows what I want to do defensively. He's been with me for the past 3 years. We had prior stops together, so he knows me personally very well. He knows, what's expected out of our defense. He knows the terminology. So I trust, everything. I trust the defense with Coach Elliott. And that was a big, big part of it, because actually during that hiring process, like all these coaches, they were in high demand. And so there were some things going on with Coach Elliott, and I started the thought of losing him. I'm like, oh man, where am I going to go from here? Because that was a guy I was really counting on. And so I was happy to land Coach Elliott and start there on the defensive side. And then with the offense, I said it, in my press conference that it would be, probably the most important hire for me because of my expertise on defense. So that was very critical. I wanted a guy that had done it, that had been a coordinator and had success, and that, had the answers, maybe not be perfect or anything like that. None of us are, but a guy that's been through it. And so, when I started looking at different people and got in touch with Neil, it was a perfect fit. Yeah, he was from Kentucky. He knows the lay of the land, grew up close to here, tremendous person. And had tremendous success. His offense is at Texas Tech, I want to say the top 15, I want to say the last 4 years. So he's been very consistent, and it also ties back to the roots of some of the success that we've had here at Kentucky. And so very happy with Neil.
Now, so you get the coordinators, but still, that's you and two others.
Right.
You got a long way to go.
Yeah, and that's right. And then, guys like John Schlarman, an all-SEC player here, great to have John on staff, coaching our offensive line. Just, again, great person, knows the lay of the land, very familiar with Kentucky. Chad Scott, coaching the running backs. Had an opportunity to go hire Vince Morrow from Nebraska. Vince and I grew up together in Youngstown, Ohio, but he had the great ties to recruiting Ohio. So it was good to have him. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Bradley Dale Pivotos coming to coach our special teams, and Bradley, he won a national championship as a special teams coordinator at LSU. Went on to become a defensive coordinator at LSU, and then went and became a head coach at the 1AA level, and then came back here. So Bradley has great success. Jimmy Brumbaugh coaching our defensive line, and that's key to us because Coach Elliott and our success at Florida State had a lot to do with how we played fundamentally up front. And Coach Brumbaugh is on the exact same page with us. So that was good. And then hired a young coach, a young star by the name of Derek Ansley to coach the cornerbacks. He was at Tennessee last year. We'll forgive him for that one. But, and then, so that's a good step. I'm missing one on offense. Who did I miss? They're going to get me later.
Did you get running?
I got running backs. Okay. Chad Scott. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Huh? Tight ends, Vince Morrow. Yeah.
Well,
they'll get me.
Okay. You mentioned your hometown, Youngstown, Ohio, which of course Ohio is known for football, one of the great traditions of high school football in America. And you grew up in a football family. Tell us a little bit about your roots and growing up. And
Speaking of roots, that's the guy I forgot, Tommy Maynard.
Yeah.
Tommy Maynard is our wide receiver coach. And again, he came from Texas Tech, and it was very important for me there as we started looking at all the people to hire, because he was so familiar with the offense. And I thought it was very important for our coaches to all be on the same page, especially offensively. So Tommy comes from a great pedigree. His father has been a pro coach, college coach, extremely successful. So very happy to have Tommy with us. But yeah, going back to Youngstown, I grew up in Youngstown, not too far from here. And I tell you, each and every day I'm in Kentucky, I feel more and more like one of y'all. So I hope y'all accept me and everything. So, but my dad was a high school teacher and coach, and all four of myself and my three brothers all got into coaching, and it was never forced on us. It was just something we were just around. We were brought up with it. Had the opportunity to play at a great school, Cardinal Mooney High School, a lot of tradition, won a lot of games. And my dad was the defensive coordinator. He was assistant football coach, head baseball coach, and kept score at the basketball games. So we were just always around the school, and very fortunate to grow up in that atmosphere.
And then you got a chance to play college football yourself. Tell us about that.
I went to University of Iowa, played at Iowa under Hayden Fry, and again, very fortunate because Hayden's a very impressive man and great coach and great role model. So he was a great guy to learn from the start. Mm-hmm.
Now, when we talk about football and where players come from, we talk about Ohio. You mentioned the roots there, and your coaching staff having roots there, but also Florida. That was a huge part of the recruiting class.
Yeah, it is. Florida, there's just so many players in Florida that we have to supplement. We have to go to other states, and there's just a lot of players there, and they play all year long, and so it's very good. I've had many stops in Florida. I coached at University of South Florida for a year. Many people don't know that. As soon as they opened the doors at South Florida, I was there, part of that original staff with Coach Jim Levitt at South Florida. Let's see, where'd I go from there? So I left South Florida. I went to Wyoming. Coached 3 years at Wyoming. Went to Houston.
The High Plains, Laramie.
Went to Laramie. Yep, 7,200 feet. We were freezing in July, but then went back. Coached. Had a stop at Miami. Was fortunate enough to win a national championship at Miami. So spent 3 great years at Miami, and then of course back at Florida State. So I had some good stops in Florida. So I've been all through that state.
Now, most important, at least in terms of the face of the program, yes, you have to get people from states like Ohio, Florida, but it was important, Kentucky. You have to kind of reestablish, if you will, and this is not a knock on anybody who's been here before, but we are the flagship university. We're a proud football program. We were losing some of our own in-state kids. You made it a point. We got some high-profile kids from in-state, and that was a real priority.
It's the number one priority. It always is. I don't care if there's 4 or 5 or 10 or 11 or whatever it is. We're going to evaluate this state. We're going to have great relationships with our coaches. We're going to work extremely hard to recruit this state. It's vital to our success. I appreciate all the coaches that have helped us this far. The 2013 class was great. It was to get several players from this state. Of course, Jacob was committed for some time. It was always very solid. And then coming in and recruiting Ryan Timmons down the stretch and Jason Hatcher was, I think, everybody was excited about that. And I was too. I mean, it's very, very important. They were very critical to our success and to our future. And, I hope it sets the precedence that these kids believe in what we're doing. We showed them a good plan and presented them, our plan to be successful. And so we're awfully excited about having those guys.
Let me ask you something. With the world we live in today with social media, Twitter, and during recruiting, I don't know how you handle all that, because there's a rumor a minute that, they're looking at this guy, they're looking at that. And nobody really can say anything official. But the fact that there was such a buzz that was building, that had to be helpful. The fan base, that people were taking to social media and communicating with one another about what you guys are doing.
It was helpful. I tell you, that's where more and more I felt stronger and stronger about this opportunity, and with the community, with the people, with the fans, with our students. And I think when our recruits got here on campus, they felt that strong presence. They felt the support, the social media, basketball games, our student section, just all of it helps. And I think that's going to be critical to our success in the future.
Now, when you talk about basketball, and there's a guy, can't remember his name right now, Coach John Calipari, that's it.
Oh yeah, right.
He's a rather big presence in the state. What's it been like? What was your first interaction with him, and what's that been like? Because it is one of the things you do is you take recruits to basketball games and so forth.
He's been fantastic. Cannot thank Coach enough. Had an opportunity to visit with him on the phone before I got here. Since I've been here, he's been nothing but helpful. Obviously, he's extremely busy right now, but he's been very generous with his time. When we have recruits on campus and during official weekends, if there's not too many, some of these unofficials, too many people. But on our official visits, we go down and he opens up his locker room, a portion of his locker room to us, and comes in and addresses our athletes and our parents. And he's been nothing but helpful. So really appreciate Coach and wish him the best here down the stretch. I know he'll get him going here.
One thing has been a big priority for the university. I'm looking at Tom over here. It kind of consumed a lot of his time over the last several months. But the BBN United, Big Blue Nation United, and under Dr. Capilouto's leadership, the university kind of taken a different approach to how to get things done in Frankfort by the fact that we convinced that the legislators, and with one exception, that we should have the authority to, in effect, spend our own money to enhance the Gatton College of Business and Economics, to build a new science building, chem physics, and long awaited to invest in our football facilities and the stadium and the Nutter training facility. That timing has worked out great. That's got to be a great selling point as you go forward.
It's tremendous. It can't be any happier about that. Let me preface this by saying, I was again listening to former President Clinton and Senator Ford last night, and I know one thing real clear: I better stay away from politics. So, but yeah, very happy about that. It's going to help. It's going to help this football team, and it's going to help many of our sports programs. So. What we're looking to do and some of the improvements we're going to make is going to affect a lot of student athletes.
What is your reaction to when it was announced just days ago? Well, now it's, I guess, been a little over a week. But first, the announcement of the date of the spring football games, April 13th, 7 p.m. I had people coming, hey, we're going to be tailgating. We're going to have plans and everything. Yeah. And now the tickets went online, free tickets, but through the Ticketmaster, and it's just been overwhelming, the response. What's your reaction?
Yeah, I'm just excited. Put a little pressure on me. We got to put out a good product here on this game. So we've got to get going. I'm ready to get spring practice rolling, but very excited and very thankful. I can't say it enough. I just really appreciate everybody's support, and our team feels that. Like I said, our recruits feel it, our coaches feel it, and we're going to work our tail off to put a great product on the field. And that's what we can control, and that's what I talk to the players all the time is control what you can control, and work on the process, work on winter conditioning, the phase of the program that we're in right now, and so we'll all adhere to that advice and grind away, and hopefully come game time on that spring game we'll put out a great product. But again, it's been that's very, very encouraging to feel that support and have that many people interested in that game.
Now, spring practice, you have 15 sessions.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what you're going to try to do. And I heard you say, I think, that you are considering having one practice after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, talk about that.
Well, with having a brand new offense and a defense, in the spring, they only allow you 15 days. And you could spread that out over 4 weeks or over 5 weeks or over 6. And some people take a little break for their spring break and come back and finish up. So the model that we're going to take this year is I did not want to force things. So the first week of the practice, we're only going to have 3 practices. And reason being is on the off days that the players could come in and watch film, heal up a little bit, and really, start learning, learn the offense. So there's no point in enforcing it. The NCAA only allows you so many hours a week, whether you're practicing or not in spring. So you might as well stretch it out a little bit. So the first 2 weeks we will only have 6 practices, and again that'll be for in between for our guys just to watch film and see their mistakes and spend quality time learning. And then we'll come back with the week 3 and week 4 and have 4 practices each week, and then we'll follow up with one after. We could jam that 15th one in there somewhere, and it's a consideration, but the advantage to going afterwards is you clean up all your mistakes from the spring game, and you also teach them a little bit. We're not allowed to work with them all summer as far as with the football, coaching them and things like that. Our strength and conditioning people train them all summer long, and they're out there throwing and doing 7-on-7 and things of that nature on their own. But us as a coaching staff, we're not allowed to be out there with them. So that 15th practice, you could kind of give them a little bit of guidance on what the expectations are for the summer, and let them get a little feel for that.
Now, speaking of the summer, and I don't know if you've had time to plan it, will you have football camps?
Yes.
You and the staff?
Yeah. We have several camps. Cut me off guard there. I'm not sure right off the top of my head what the dates are, but yes, we'll have a youth camp and we'll have a high school camp and all that. Yeah.
So my point is, you coaches, even though you might get a few days with the family over the summer, it's not like you're just sitting back. And camps are not only for the instruction of the youth, it gives you a chance sometimes in an informal way to see what's out there in terms of talent.
Yeah, it helps in recruiting. Certainly with the high school camps, it helps bringing some guys in and getting an evaluation on them and working with them a little bit. Let those guys get to know you a little bit, you get to know them, and that definitely helps with the recruiting process. And with the youth camps, it's just fun being out there instructing and spending some time with the young kids. But yeah, the summer, will be a busy time for us this year, and it is the best time of year for us. That's the only time we could decompress a little bit. So I better get off and go to a vacation with my family at least for a week, or I'm going to hear it from my wife. So, yeah.
Now, after all that's said and done, and you come back from vacation and you get fall practice, they'll be reporting, and I guess very early in August.
Yeah, right around the 5th, I want to say.
And your schedule, let me just say, if I was in your shoes, my first game, I would like it to be against some total no-name team that, I pretty much show up, and if my players take care of business. Here you've got Western Kentucky University with there's another guy with a P, Petrino, that's it. Then you've got Miami of Ohio at home, the Western games down in Nashville, and then you've got University of Louisville. And then I think you get a week off, and then you get into the SEC. But the schedule maker didn't necessarily do you any favors here starting out. But what about it?
I'm sorry, folks. I got to go, Carl. Thanks a lot. I got to go. Time's up.
Well, what about it? I know you got it. It's a cliche, one at a time, but it really is. You talk a lot about process. You can't get overwhelmed looking at a 12-game schedule. You've got to look at what you can do today, what you can do next week.
A lot of people talk about that and brought it up through conversations and speaking engagements and all that, but I really haven't. I really have not looked at the schedule at all. There's just too much to do. And you start worrying about the results, you got no chance. So there's just too much to do right now, and we're worried about the process and going about our business. And that's really not a cliche. It's just it's what we got to live by.
Now, talk about the Southeastern Conference. You mentioned it earlier. The Southeastern Conference, it's proven it on the field. It's not hype by just saying it. I believe it's now 7 straight years that the national championship team has emerged from the Southeastern Conference. Again, you don't look at this as, oh my God, I'm scared, I'm going to the SEC. This is like, hey, you got a chance to coach in the best conference in America.
Absolutely. That's what you want, and you want to compete at the highest level, and we're going to get that opportunity. That's for sure. And we have a lot of respect for all the teams in our conference. It's really separating itself as a conference from everybody else in the country. Really, it's not even close. And so the competition's getting better and better. The recruiting's getting better. Coaching's getting better. I hope. And then just got to keep on improving.
Have you had a chance to talk with any of the other SEC head coaches yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had the SEC head coaches meeting, so I had an opportunity to visit with all of them there, and really know several of them very well. So Kevin Sumlin's a very close friend of mine, and
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, and Brett Bielema at Arkansas. He's new to the league as well, but Brett and I go way back as well. So a couple guys that I'm real close with, and then several of the other guys I know most of them. So it was good. It was interesting for me.
We're going to talk for a few more minutes and be thinking of questions, because we're going to come to the audience here in a few minutes and give you a chance to ask the coach. But let's get back, take a break from football for a second. Your family, because I think what goes underappreciated when people talk about football coaches is the role of the wife, your wife, the kids, the family. It's one thing, you got enough of a whirlwind getting the job, but somebody's got to take care of things back in Florida, got to get you ready to make a move. I know you have to be there at the closing, but I imagine your wife probably took most of the lead on the house. So tell us all that, how that's settled in Lexington.
Yeah, you're lucky she's not here right now, too. But that's very difficult. It really is, because we accept the job, leave the day after the ACC championship, and boom, I'm gone. Did have an opportunity to stop back in Tallahassee, a few times. But yeah, for the most part, she's got to do all the dirty work and getting the house ready to sell and listing it and all those things. And of course, looking for homes here in town. And so, yeah, she does a lot of the work. And matter of fact, I'm hearing it left and right, because like I said, I've been running and got back late last night, and she's still, poor thing, she's still unpacking boxes and trying to straighten things out and all that. That's her fault. She bought the big house. You know what I mean? Yeah, she does an awful lot. And I really, a lot of coaches say that, but it's the very honest truth that we could never be successful or do our jobs without an incredibly strong woman behind the scenes. And so really appreciate everything she does.
And this is not like Oprah Winfrey here, but how did you guys meet?
We met of all the places I've been, we met in Laramie, Wyoming. So had to go get me a Wyoming girl. So we met when I was coaching at Wyoming.
So this is a mild winter for her, then.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And the kids, again, now they're young, 6 and 2.5.
6 and 2. Yep.
But that's what's in their reaction, because they've had to, the older ones now had to move a couple times, I guess. Yeah.
This is the first move for the 6-year-old that, affected him at all. My 2-year-old, he really doesn't know what's going on. Except he may see me on the TV and see it put on a daddy every now and then. But other than that, he's doing good. My 6-year-old, he's really made the transition very well. He's doing good, and it's been exciting for him. And I think he likes the fact that he could pop up into the office and come see me whenever he wants to, every now and then, which isn't often enough. But it's good to have him pop in. And our staff, I want to say it's close to, I haven't met them all yet because everybody's still coming, but I think there's 33 kids from our coaches. So we got to build another wing on that complex, So,
well, and I know that's got to be boys and girls, but 33, that's 11 for offense, 11 for defense, 11 for special teams.
There you go. I'm always looking ahead.
Back on the football just a moment, and that is in terms of, we talked about your dad being a coach. Your brother is the head coach at Oklahoma, very high profile. Do you get a chance to visit? Have you had a chance to visit and bounce things off with your brothers since you've been here? Because I imagine that's going to be an important part of your support system. We all need people that we trust, that we can confide in or say, hey, I got this situation. Yeah. What do you think you do?
Very, very much. I've been very fortunate again in that regard. Watching Bob and Mike, they've been very successful. And of course, they've had their ups and they've had their downs, like all of us in coaching. We're 7 days away from being humbled each and every week, So, but fortunate that way. And it's great to have them as resources. And we talk often. And of course, we're doing our own things and busy and all that, but we talk, whether it's about family or just touching base or about hires or philosophy and a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I just talked with both of them yesterday, and next week we're on spring break, and I'm going to try to, my wife's going to kill me. She doesn't know about this yet either, but I'm going to try to dart out there and watch one of their spring practices and just spend some time with them, just, really talking football. And so
one or two more questions for me, and then I think we'll open it up. I think we're doing okay schedule wise. Okay, Coach, in terms of when you look at the spring practice, what you're trying to accomplish, we kind of covered that, but when you have the fall and you get back, again, it's precious little time. The NCAA says how many practices you can have and so forth, but by then, hopefully, at least the players have an idea, the ones that are already on campus, of what you're trying to accomplish, offense and defense. If you were to sum up defense, you want, if I heard you right, you want people not thinking too much. You want to have schemes, but you want to go after the football and be aggressive on defense.
Well, you do. I mean, in this day and age, you have to be very multiple. You have to change things up. You can't, be too standard. But I think there's a fine line there between doing too much and too little. So that's always, what all of us coaches are looking for, that perfect model. But I think we evolved to that at Florida State over the 3 years. And, people ask me all the time, are you a blitz or a bend but don't break or this? And we're certainly not a bend but don't break. I mean, we led the country last year in 3 and outs by far. We had far and away more 3 and outs than anybody in the country. And I think we're the only team in the country that averaged under 4 yards per play. And so, so we're trying to stop them each and every play. And we'll do that, by any means necessary. And really, with us, you have to change up all the time. We have to evolve each and every day, and we have to adapt to the players that we have. We have to put them in a position to be successful. And, a story about that, going back to Florida State, got hired at Florida State, didn't know Coach Fisher very well, went in, talked with him, interviewed, so on and so forth, got the job, went through spring practice, did our base defense and all that all through spring, went into fall camp, did what we did, go into the first season, play, ironically enough, Oklahoma, second game of the year, my first year at Florida State, play Oklahoma, and they absolutely torch us. I mean, ripped us up one side and down the other. And
you said, thanks, big brother.
I was like, wow, wow. But I tried to, I knew what we were getting into. That's when Oklahoma was, one of their years when they were really high tempo and really good and really fast. And when they get rolling at home, they've done that to a lot. And so I had a good idea what we were getting into. I'm not sure the players did. But anyway, long story short, we go back after that game and I say, guys, this isn't, some things aren't right now. We got to change it immediately. And through all that work that we did with the players that we had and what we had going on, we changed overnight. Now, that's not drastic. It's not like we went from a 4-3 to a 3-4 and did crazy drastic things. But a big piece of what we did, we changed right then and there. And from that point on until the point where I'm here and the success that we had at Florida State, we changed. And I think that's, I'm sure you all do that in business every day too. You have to adapt, you have to change, you have to do what's necessary to be successful. And so I think that's going to be a big part of it this spring and throughout the fall, what we can do, what we can't do. And it's our job to put them in a position to be successful.
And offensively, just talk about that. I think people saw some on the video, but you're going to open things up. I mean, you're going to make things happen on the field. That's going to be your philosophy.
Yeah, we have to. We have to space it out a little bit. One thing that I love about Coach Brown's offense and this offensive philosophy is they use all the green grass on the field and they spread you out and move the ball around because, I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, some of those boys were playing on the other teams. They're pretty big, you know what I mean? And so just to think that even though I'm a defensive guy and the mentality and the toughness and to say all that, I could say that, preach that, practice that all I want. And then to go take an Alabama or take somebody and think that we're going to blow them off the ball right away here, right now, is probably not real sane. So you have to find creative ways. Now you have to have the toughness. You have to develop that, and you have to have that mentality, and and we will do that. But you also have to be creative. You can't just constantly bang your head into the wall. You got to find ways, and it goes back to what I was just talking about earlier. Just find ways to move the football, find ways to stop people from moving the football. And again, that's our job. But I really like the creativity and the space that they use in that offense.
Very good, Coach. Coach Mark Stoops. Now, we've got time for some questions. Sam, do we have a microphone or anything, or just, okay. Katie has a microphone, so raise your hand if you have a question for the coach. Here's your opportunity. You've got one in the front. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, Coach, we're certainly glad to have you here in Lexington.
Thank you.
My family's been in Lexington since 1841. We're the second oldest business in Lexington, so we've got a little tradition, and we are looking forward to some new traditions at Kentucky at your leadership.
Thank you.
You probably have noticed we've got this wonderful newspaper called the Herald Leader, and one of the things during the recruiting process to hire you is nobody really knew who our next coaches were going to be, and it was a pretty hush-hush thing. And we were fortunate enough to read in the Herald Leader exactly what happened, but I thought it would maybe be good to hear it from you on the recruiting process when Mitch Barnhart came down to see you. And again, there were some people would say, well, why would somebody want to even talk to Mitch about the job at Kentucky? And what we kind of heard was that when Mitch came to talk to you, you came to him with a plan and blew him out of the water about how you were going to take Kentucky to the next level. So I wondered if you could reveal a little bit about that process and what your plan was and how you sold Mitch Barnhart to hire you.
Yeah, good question. I've been in coaching a long time, and really been preparing to be a head coach, probably all my life, just by accident. I talked about my dad being the defensive coordinator. It's true, and we don't make these things up. I'd sit there and eat my dinner just about every night. My dad would be watching the old 16 millimeter, using the refrigerator as a canvas for his background, so I'd have to interrupt him every once in a while. We'd have to get the milk, and he'd have to, so that's just how I grew up. But for the first time, so I have been preparing. This off season, prior to this past football season, I did spend some time putting together some thoughts and putting together some things. Your blueprint, if you will, of my philosophies of what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be as a head coach, and put some thought into that. And during the summer, during my vacation time, just because when things happen in our profession, it's very chaotic. So jobs come up, they get filled. We're extremely busy in season, as you know. I mean, our job in season is 7 days a week. And many hours through that week, so we're pretty much nonstop. So when opportunities come about, I just wanted to have my ducks in a row a little bit. So just some organizational type things. So I had that ready to go from the summer, and then just went about the season and handled my business, because that's all you can do. The best job you have is the one you have. So to help myself, I needed to help Florida State and do the best job I could at Florida State to win games. I owed it to that university. I had a great relationship with those players, and all my energy and focus was to help that team win. And so then again, with the timeline of it, actually worked pretty good because of one of our Thursday night games. We had a little break in there. And so that was after Kentucky was already open. My attorney had a relationship, or knew Mitch, and so they talked and asked if there was some mutual interest, and there was. And so we had an opportunity to meet during a time when we had a rare off day in season. Probably, when I report in late July, it's probably, honestly, I'm not just exaggerating, that's probably the only day you'd have off the whole season. So anyway, so with that, Mr. Barnhart and I agreed to meet. And so we met at a location. And at that point, we went through, some of my thoughts and some of the ideas I had to help Kentucky and really just who I am and what you are and how your program's going to be run and all those sort of things. So that's kind of how it went about. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
No, we had one up front that we'll give it just a second, Chief, so the whole audience can hear.
Gotcha.
Coach, I've been hearing about a rumor about putting the students in the end zone, and I really think it's a great idea. Can you comment on that?
I have no idea, to be honest.
Or you're not?
I think it's a great idea, but I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't know. So I just hope they're all there making a lot of noise. So yeah.
Any questions, Albert?
Hey, Coach, the biggest question I hear from the Big Blue Nation as far as spring practice goes is how are you going to proceed with the quarterback situation, being as you have returning starters and great players at that position, and that seems to be the main position in the new offense.
Yeah, it's a very important position, as you know, and we all know. You have to be, you have to be solid at that position. I feel very good about that. I feel very good about the talent at that position. They all have been doing a great job this offseason, working extremely hard, doing things on their own as far as getting the receivers out there, throwing with them and getting the offense together, learning the offense up there in their own time, spending time with Coach Brown, being leaders. They've all stepped up. And so I know, it's a topic that everybody, it's universal. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback situation because it's important. It's many times it's the leader of your team. And so, it's a very important decision for us. I think it's just very important for us to be very fair to all these three young men because they're all very talented. They all bring a different dynamic to our offense. And so we'll just have to see, but they'll get equal reps. So if one of them's the starter, just, day one, we'll just rotate them. So there really is no starter. They'll all get equal amount of reps, and then we'll proceed from there just to be fair and give them plenty of time. We have a lot of time. I mean, there's no rush. I don't feel a rush on that at all. And so that's one thing, talking about my brothers and advice and, when you're getting hired and the pressure of hiring your staff and the pressure of doing this and the pressure, in trying not to succumb to all that, you just do what's best for your team. And so we won't feel the pressure to name anybody unless they're a clear-cut winner. And if they are, if they've separated themselves, then they'll be named the starter. If not, then we'll take our time because, we're going to build a great foundation here to be successful for many years. And so we'll let that process play out.
Anyone else?
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
Don Ebelhair, longtime UK football fan and season ticket holder. Welcome to UK, and thanks for the Christmas card.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
You spoke earlier about relationships with your players. How do you see yourself balancing the relationship between having the players like you, respect you, but also discipline them so that they are disciplined both on the field and off the field?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think again that's that fine line for many coaches. That part of it for me never seems to be very difficult. I think as the head coach, it is my first time being a head coach, but that part of it for me has always come very easy. I think right now there's a lot of hard work to be done, and there's a lot of discipline to be instilled. And so, there won't be a lot of clowning, for right now for some time. We've got a lot of things to do. But when we get off the field, I think that's when the players see who you are. they see you with your family. They see you around the building. They see you taking time to visit with them and care about them as people. And I think that part of it for me is easy. The discipline, the structure, the toughness, the hard-nosed effort, and all those things that we need to instill, that's going to be full go, for practice for some time. And that's the mentality that we need to create here right now. So they're not going to see a very soft side on the field. And, so we've just got a lot of work to do there. But the other part of it really has always come very natural to me. That's something that I pride myself on. I think it goes back to my father, the type of man he was. He always was just that type of person where everybody in the room respected the heck out of him because of his work ethic, because of who he was. But he didn't try to be anything he wasn't. He was just a good person, always there for the kids. And that's what I'll try to do as well.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Coach, welcome to Lexington.
Thank you.
For the second time. We are not known as a defensive football team.
Mm-hmm.
Never have been, really, frankly, going back to the days of Bear Bryant. It'd be interesting to know from you what some details of your transition from being 108 to 2, your philosophy on the front seven, 4 and 3. Don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but we don't know a whole lot about defensive football in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So I'm not bashing anybody in the past.
We had some years. What was it, back in the 70s? We had some good defensive years. Actually, some of the most consistent years we had when we were very solid defensively here. But yeah, I know that goes back a while. But no, I think it is important. And with defensively, again, going back to a little bit about who I am. When Coach Fisher and when I went in the interview and talked with him about being his defensive coordinator and all that, I said, if you're looking for somebody to trick the offense all the time and be this mojo guy drawing up 10,000 different schemes and blitzes and all that to try to trick you here and trick you there, you got the wrong guy. If you're looking for a guy that's going to have some answers and have some ways and have some tweaks and be multiple enough, but teach the players how to play, then I'm your guy. So that's very much who I am. That's why I said from the very start, our players will know. If you ask a team, if you ask them, what's your identity? Who are you? After 15 practices, our players will be able to tell you who we are, and what we are. And so I think that part of it for me is very clear, and that's really never going to waver. I understand there's tweaks and there's changes and all that, but that's kind of the foundation of who I am. And that's, 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. And, some of that changes depending on personnel and all that. But a big part of it is how you play up front. And, and again, there's many things that go into it as far as change ups and blitzes and all that. But again, the core of who I am is teaching players how to do things the right way. That's really never going to change with football. It comes down to what? Blocking, running, executing on offense, tackling. I mean, what makes a great tackling team? Position on the football. If you know where to be, if you're in great position, and you're going to tackle well. So those are some of the basic principles of who I am.
Anybody else? Got one over here.
How do you get the fan base and the players to not accept the 500 season as the norm and have higher expectations for themselves?
I'm sorry, except
How do you get the fan base and the players to not accept a 500 season as the norm and have higher expectations for themselves?
Well, I think that just comes from more and more work and what they invest. How much we invest in it, will determine all that. And the greater the investment, by the players, the more they're going to, believe and buy into it and do that. And I think that's a never-ending process. We're always striving to get better each and every day. And again, just like all of you are in business, I mean, we're never satisfied. We're on keep on working for perfection. And, we know we're never going to be perfect, but maybe somewhere in there we'll find some excellence.
One more over here.
Hi. I guess my question is, it seems like when you have a 500 football team in the SEC, or maybe 7-5, you've got 22 good players. But it seems like to get to the level of winning the championship, you need to have 44 good players. How do you see yourself building Kentucky to where we have a first string and a second string ready to go in
Yeah.
all the way around?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the key to have depth, and that is the key to have a consistent winner, is having a lot of good players. And you're right, and that's the part of it that's difficult. And people have asked me, and again, I'm a first-year head coach. That it's not my style to temper expectations. That's not. I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna do the best I can. We're gonna prepare to win each and every game, and that's just the way we're gonna do it. I don't know any other way to answer things like that. But with that being said, people do got to understand is it takes that many players or more. You said 44. It actually takes 50 or 60. You know what I mean, to be good. So you need many good players for a lot of years, and that's the work that we have ahead of us in recruiting and in developing the players that we have. Our philosophy here, and what we're going to do, and we're going to recruit because you have to. That's the lifeline of your program, and we're going to develop the players that we have. We've worked extremely hard developing and making our players here that we have on our campus better. And that's through nutrition, strength and conditioning, sports psychology. We're doing everything we can to make these players better. And that's what we're going to do.
Anyone else? Well, I tell you what, let's give the coach a big round of applause.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
And
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, I want to thank you again for being here with us today. I'd like to wrap it up. We're ahead of schedule by about 10 minutes, so I'm sure there are folks in the audience that love a chance to shake your hand and greet you, so we'll allow them that time. The spring game is on April the 13th. Tom Harris has told me that we have record numbers planning to attend, but there are still tickets available. I think that's one of the best things we can do as a UK fan base. It's about Coach Stoops, even more so it's about the players. Let's make sure that our returning players and the new players, that they are confident they made the right decision in coming to Kentucky. The best way we can do that is to come out with our kids on April the 13th and support them. Thank you again to the sponsors. Appreciate you all being here this morning.